Wondra sits in a jail cell. He is back in Idaho, accused of killing young Michael Vaughan.
You're pure evil. You have no heart. You have no soul.
Wondra is accused of murdering her then 5-year-old son in 2021. Would you think you'll ever get the answer as to why?
No, because there is no answer to why. Why would somebody hurt an innocent little boy? What answer could you give? What answer could you possibly give? How scared was he? Did he ask for me? Did he ask for Tyler?
Stacey Wondra has been charged with first-degree murder and second-degree kidnapping and destruction of evidence.
Michael Monkey Vaughan went missing from his Fruitland neighborhood on July 27, 2021.
This is a criminal investigation.
Now, more than 4 years later, in newly unsealed court documents, Fruitland police named 4 people they believed are involved in Michael's murder. Those 4 names are ones we've heard before.
This is Sarah Wondra. This is Sarah's husband, Stacey Wondra. This is Brandon Shirtliff, Adrian Lucien.
As for what these 4 people have in common, they were all staying at the Wondra's home when Michael disappeared in 2021. That's just half a mile from Michael's home where he was last seen. In the PCA, police pointed to video evidence they say showing Shirtliff walking around the neighborhood. They say Shirtliff helped move Michael's body in a duffel bag temporarily to his mom's home in Kuna before standing guard as they buried him in the Wondra's Fruitland backyard. Stacey Wondra told police the 4 hoped to sell Michael for $10,000 each. He says the idea came from Adrian Lucien. Idaho News 6 is now learning Lucien was arrested and released in Indiana in October for a traffic-related misdemeanor. Sarah Wondra is currently serving time in the Idaho State Prison System for unrelated charges. She's eligible for parole in early 2026.
Karen, is there any connection between the Vaughan family and the home where police had been searching?
No, we've heard this more than once from the family representatives and from the police department that there is no connection between the Vaughan family and the home where this search took place.
As you know, from the time Michael went missing, this has been an all-hands-on-deck investigation, and it remains very active and an ongoing investigation. You can't take one of our most precious citizens from us and ever expect us to stop. During the course of this investigation to date, we received credible information that the remains of Michael Vaughan could be found in the backyard at 1102 Red Wing Street in Fruitland. As a result, the Fruitland Police Department obtained a search warrant for the residence along with the front and backyards. That search warrant was served on November 11th. It was a Friday. We served that late in the evening. Upon entry, officers encountered Sarah Wondra, one of the known occupants of the home, and Sarah was subsequently arrested based on probable cause that she had knowledge of Michael's death and failed to report that death to law enforcement. The following day, the Fruitland Police Department, joined by the Idaho State Police, the Idaho Mountain Search and Rescue, the Fruitland Fire Department, and the Fruitland Public Works Department, began a very methodical excavation of the backyard of the Wondra's home. During that excavation process, the Idaho Mountain Search and Rescue, Mountain States detection dogs deployed multiple certified human remains detection dogs on the property, all of them alerting to the presence of human remains. Ground penetrating radar was also used and deployed, detecting anomalies in the backyard. We completed the excavation of the entire backyard and removed over 250 yards of dirt. Prior to backfilling the yard, the dirt was meticulously sifted for any potential human remains. We did not find Michael's remains. Although the remains of Michael Vaughan were not recovered, we strongly believe, based on evidence, that Michael was abducted and is deceased, and that his remains were buried and later moved from the property. As of today, the whereabouts of his remains are unknown. However, the investigation is active, fluid, and ongoing. Once the excavation was complete, we conducted a thorough search of the Wondra's residence. The search was productive, and additional investigative evidence was recovered and is currently being processed.
An hour's worth of body camera footage showing Stacey Wondra FaceTiming with detectives and directing to where Monkey's body was buried in his backyard.
It's like right under that mound area. It's right under the mound. About where at compared to the trees?
A little like right to the right of the trees area. It should be, it should be a garbage bag.
Okay, what color is the garbage bag?
It would either be white or black. We only had two colors.
Is the duct tape still going to be over his mouth?
It should be.
Okay.
I didn't watch to take them off.
Okay.
So you should have everything intact as it was.
He claims he watched the burial happen.
Okay. How far down is Michael?
I don't know how far she actually dug.
And the she he's referring to, that's his wife Sarah, another suspect in the case. Stacey says Adrian, a third suspect, was also there for the burial.
Out of 300 homes, police say canines tracked Michael's scent to the home where Stacey, his wife Sarah, and their two roommates Brandon Shirtliff and Adrian Lucien lived.
As Joe mentioned, a newly released probable cause affidavit filed in June lays out the interviews following Michael's disappearance. Again, during these initial searches, police say canines tracked Michael's scent to the fence line of the home where Stacey Wondra, his wife Sarah, and their two roommates, Brandon Shirtliff and Adrian Lucien, lived. All four of those individuals have been named people of interest in Michael's disappearance. One of Michael's neighbors told police they saw Michael riding a bike outside of the Wondra's home the day that he disappeared. Another neighbor said they saw that same tricycle at the Wondra's home during a garage sale months before Michael disappeared. The Wondras initially denied any involvement, but then in November of 2022, Stacey asked to meet with investigators. The PCA states Stacey claims he was home the night Michael was allegedly abducted and saw Sarah carrying Michael into the house. Stacey allegedly told police it was Adrian's idea to take a child to sell for money, and they would get a $10,000 cut. Stacey claims Sarah told everyone to, quote, follow her lead. Stacey told investigators they took him to Brandon's mother's home in Kuna that night, where they left Michael overnight. Stacey claims the other three returned to Brandon's mom's house the next day and brought Michael back to the Wandra's home in Fruitland. Stacey told police Michael was not alive, and Sarah and Adrian buried him in the Wandra's backyard. 2 days after Stacey's interview with police, they executed a search warrant and excavated the Wandra's backyard. The affidavit says cadaver dogs alerted to the same area where Stacey told detectives Michael's body was buried, but to this day, Michael has not been found.
Hello, everybody. Welcome in. It is March 10th, 2026. Welcome into Missing PNW Crimes Revisited. My name is Samantha. Thank you all for being here, being a part of Monkey's Army, and supporting the Vaughan family and wanting justice for Michael Joseph Vaughan. I really appreciate everybody, and I know the family does too. I know they really appreciate you being here. Please share Michael's face and his beautiful smile. And when you get a chance, you can start sharing all of the news reports that are out right now about Stacey Wondra's preliminary hearing, which is what we are going over today. This is part 2 of the review of the first day of Stacey Wondra's preliminary hearing from March 3rd, 2026, which was just last week, and Stacey Wondra is going to trial. Let's see who's all here. Again, thank you all for coming in. We got Rub-a-Dub in the house. Jay Lynn is here. Kimberly is also here. My wonderful moderator and friend, Callie Dime. Thank you so much for being here. I really do appreciate you. We've got Jen R. also here. Chaos Queen, thank you guys for coming in. Sweet tea, it's so good to see you. Man, I love me some sweet tea. I'm from Texas, and man, do I miss the real sweet tea with real sugar. Now I'm drinking Milo's, unsweetened. Criminal Med is in the house. Thank you so much for coming in. Mama B, thank you guys so much for being here. Wonderful moderator, missing persons from around the world. Thank you so much, Sarah, for coming in. Chuck Anderson's granddaughter is also here. She took over her grandfather's account after he passed away. He was a wonderful man and great to see here on the YouTube streets. AV, my beautiful moderator and also one of my closest friends. Thank you so much for coming in. Kim D is in the house. Thank you for coming. So wonderful to see so many people here. The Lane Effect, or Lana Effect, I'm sorry. Got to meet Lana last week. Thank you so much for everything you do behind closed doors. I really appreciate that. I love working with you. Let's see. We've got Karen. Thank you so much for being here. We got Allian Tanks. Thank you for coming. Okay, let's see. Kim D, Ashley Higgins. Mama B says, justice for Michael, justice for Brandi, Tyler, Papa, and the family. Justice is coming, bring Monkey home. And that's what we all want, and I know that's what the Vaughan family really wants, is for Michael to be found. Okay, Impress Me is also here. Thank you for coming. All right. So glad to have you all here. First, I want to clarify something real quick. I keep getting questions about Stacey Wondra talking about Sarah, Brandon, and Adrian going to Ontario, and how he said that Sarah came home with thousands of dollars. Many people are asking questions because they're like, how do we know that Michael wasn't sold in Ontario? Well, it says in the probable cause affidavit that Sarah, Brandon, and Adrian returned to Fruitland, verified by surveillance, in Sarah's blue Toyota at 5:08 p.m., leaving again at 5:12 p.m. And this is when they're leaving to go to Ontario at 5:12 p.m. and then returning again at 5:56 p.m. So they were gone about 45 minutes, and now we know they went to Ontario. And but this is before Michael Vaughan was abducted. So their trip to Ontario and Stacey's lies about her collecting thousands of dollars is exactly that. It is just a lie. We have a few things to go over. Up at the top is the link for KTVB News Channel 7. Morgan, who is very trusted reporter, Brandi Vaughan loves her, so that means I love her because she does facts. She does excellent work. Me and my daughter met her. Her and her partner Sam sat right behind me and my daughter at the preliminary hearing last week. And that link up above is there so that you can go over kind of what we're going over tonight. But when I click on the link here, it has a lot of ads, and so many ads, in fact, that after you click out of the ads, because it takes up the whole screen, it wants to bring me up to the top right at the beginning of the entire report. So it would be very hard for me to share my screen, but you're welcome to click the link. I wanted to share something with you guys, though. We talked about Dustin Witt and Banshee, the canine trailing dog that he worked with. I got sent some information today, and I just want to show you guys something because I found this so really interesting about Banshee and Dustin Witt. So this is Banshee. Canine Banshee, 1.5 years old, black and tan bloodhound, and she was a deputy for 6 months. Additionally, Banshee is partnered with Sergeant Dustin Witt, who is a canine unit supervisor. Banshee's job at the sheriff's office is to locate wanted, lost, and missing people, and she trains weekly to keep up her sharp skills in her time off. Banshee loves to jump in Sergeant Witt's swimming pool, lay in the sun, and loves to play with children. Now, this was put in here by the Merced County Sheriff's Office in California in 2017. We did learn from Dustin Witt during the preliminary hearing that Banshee passed away shortly before Christmas, 2005. It was very sad to hear. Here's also some pictures here at the Castle Air Museum where Dustin Witt and Canine Banshee had showed up. And then also this ad here is very important because we went over how Dustin Witt used a scent transfer kit and how he uses this 4x4 scent pad after putting in a scent article and then vacuuming it up through the pad. And here's a picture of Banshee going to work. Her head straight up. She's going to work. Here's Dustin Witt with he's using something like tweezers to hold up this 4x4 pad so that Banshee could go to work, which I love being able to find this picture. And I also want to kind of go over this real quick. At risk, missing person located by Sheriff Bloodhound. On October 30th of 2019, the Merced County Sheriff Office was called to assist in the search of the at-risk missing juvenile in the area of the 11,000 block of Sunset Drive in Livingston. Deputy Dustin Witt and his canine partner Banshee responded to the location in an attempt to locate the juvenile. Banshee was given a scent article, which is an item associated with the missing person, which would likely contain the missing person's scent. Banshee acquired the scent of a juvenile and trailed the scent through an orchard of approximately 1 mile. Banshee alerted to a large stack of sweet potato boxes, and deputies found the juvenile safe atop the boxes. From the time Deputy Banshee picked up the scent, it took approximately 30 minutes to locate the missing person. And at this time, Banshee was 4 years old, female bloodhound. So I found it very interesting that Banshee could hunt down this juvenile, tracking 1 mile in 30 minutes. Also, there were some more articles here. There was a stalking suspect. Said Merced County Sheriff's Office Bloodhound did a good job in finding him. Sergeant Dustin Witt and Canine Banshee responded to a call to locate a stalking suspect just 1 week after training with scent evidence Canine CEO Paul Coley in California. Sergeant Witt used a scent evidence canine scent kit to collect odor from a window inside the victim's apartment complex where the suspect was seen an hour and a half before. Witt used the absorption scent collection method taught by Coley to preserve any evidence at the scene. Sergeant Witt presented the scent jar to Canine Banshee, a scent discriminant bloodhound, and the team deployed. Canine Banshee trained trailed a quarter-mile through the apartment complex to where the suspect was sitting on a curb. The suspect told deputies that he had been at the victim's house and that the dog did a good job, while confirming his path was the same as Banshee's trail. So here you actually are hearing, the sheriff's office talk about the fact that Dustin Witt is using this scent transfer unit to collect a scent and having it in the jar and pulling it out. This is exactly what Dustin Witt described him doing with Michael Vaughan's scent article, which was his shoe. And that's what he used the first day when Banshee hit on the corner of Red Wing and Meadowlark, where we now know, according to the probable cause affidavit, that Dorothy Starkey said she saw Michael Vaughan on that corner riding the pink trike that is mentioned in the probable cause affidavit. And then Banshee is cutting through yards and everything to get to following the trail, this scent trail that led Banshee to the garage at the Wondra's house and the fence, the man gate, located between Carson Starkey's and the Wondra's house. I find this stuff fascinating. Here's another picture of Banshee. Look at her long ears. They're so cute. Here's Dustin Witt and Banshee. They are visiting, I believe, at some Campus Park Elementary School in Livingston. I love seeing the interaction that Banshee and Dustin Witt had with the community and especially with the children. I read another article that talked about how Dustin Witt took Banshee to go play hide and seek, and finding the kids. It was really cool to hear. I just love stuff like that. Banshee does it again while assisting CHP. Banshee and her canine handler, Dustin Witt, tracked and located the suspect on highway patrol. The highway patrol was looking for such a good girl. And here we have more pictures of Banshee and Dustin Witt. And then Banshee with another. This was the article that was sent to me today, and this is how I was able to find Banshee and Dustin Witt here on Facebook. This is Mears County Sheriff's Deputy Dustin Witt and K9 Banshee will be telling their story about being an unbeatable team when it comes to finding missing persons and fugitives. And that was aired October 31st. 2019 on ABC 30 Action News. And then there are several pictures here of Banshee. Very, very beautiful dog, young dog, I noticed. And here she is with Dustin Witt climbing up the side of a building with a rope. They're like learning how to, what is the word I'm looking for? Do ravine work, going down, going up. So that was really cool. And there they are again. Banshee is even got her glasses on. And here she is at the beach, my home away from home. Just so, so cute. I love all of this information. I really believe that this dog was great at doing her job. They just posted up some pictures of Banshee, and then this is a story about playing hide and seek with some bad guys, and she won. So that was kind of cool. Here's another story about K9 Banshee tracks down domestic violence suspect. I'm going to fast forward just a little bit. Merced County, California on August 30th of 2019, deputies from Pierce County Sheriff's Office responded to the 300 block of Bermuda Street for a domestic in progress. Prior to deputies arriving, the suspect Saley ran from the scene and was wanted for felony domestic violence and felony criminal threats. Deputies on scene requested Deputy Dustin Witt and his canine partner Banshee to pick up the suspect's track. Canine Banshee is one of 2 human tracking dogs at the Pierce County Sheriff's Office and is not an apprehension dog. Deputy Witt and Canine Banshee tracked Saley for approximately 40 minutes and over a quarter of a mile and located Saley hiding in a chicken coop. Deputies assisted with taking Saley into custody and booking her into Pierce County Jail. Here is another. They posted so many. This was a burglary in progress, and Banshee ends up finding 2 of the people that they're looking for. It doesn't say the distance, but it looks like she can go the distance. So I just wanted to share this information. You can always go and look at the Pierce County Sheriff's Office and click up at the top the 3 little dots, and then it gives you a chance to search. I just put in Dustin Witt and Banshee and all the stuff popped up. So sad to hear that he lost his dog. You could really tell how much he loved Banshee. Again, we're just going to go back over the rest of the testimonies that were given, the witnesses that came forth on March 3rd. We did go over the scent dog and 2 of the cadaver dog trainers yesterday, and today we'll be going over Jeff Crimmons, Carson Starkey's testimony, and Captain Jayson Horst, and I believe there's one more, James Smit, which was the one who found the tricycle down the bluff. I think you guys will all, yes, Criminal Med, she passed away shortly before Christmas 2025, I believe, is what he said. I believe that's what my notes say. So I'm going to go over Morgan's notes from KTVB, and then I'm going to go over me and my daughter's notes. I kind of looked at both of ours, kind of combined them together to collect as much information for you guys, things that were said. Yeah, Lana was in the courtroom and she's saying Criminal Med, yes, she passed from an illness. I didn't catch what she actually passed from, but yeah. It was sad. It was sad to hear. You could tell when he even just said it that she had passed away, he was emotional about it. We are here to talk about Michael Joseph Vaughan, who was abducted July 27th of 2021 in his neighborhood. The 4 suspects that have been named in Michael's abduction and murder are Stacey Wondra, Sarah Wondra, Adrian Lucien, and Brandon Shirtliff. Stacey Wondra is going to trial after being charged with first-degree murder, second-degree kidnapping, and destruction of evidence, and Sarah Wondra is in prison on unrelated charges, set to be released October 2026, but she will not be free. There is a warrant and hold for her arrest, just like there was on Stacey Wondra. She will be charged with first-degree murder, second-degree kidnapping, and destruction of evidence. Adrian Lucien talks about a sacrifice gone wrong and how the price went up. He talks again and again and again, not only in messages to people on TikTok, on Instagram, on Facebook, but he also posts things about Michael Vaughan, giving specific details that Adrian Lucien should not know if he has had no involvement in Michael Vaughan's abduction and murder. And now Stacey Wondra is saying Sarah came in holding Michael Vaughan and that Adrian helped her kidnap Michael Vaughan. He also says that he was set up by a white guy to go live at the WONDRA'S house. Brandon Shirtliff, he knows where Michael is. Stacey Wondra told police in November of 2022 that Michael was buried in his backyard at 1102 Red Wing Street, and police officers went there, dug, cadaver dogs hit there and at Brandon Shirtliff's mom's house. Michael was not found in the WONDRA'S backyard, but 5 cadaver dogs did hit at the home. Law enforcement believes that Michael Vaughan was then removed from the WONDRA'S property and put into an unknown location. Brandon Shirtliff's mom, we know that Julie Gibson, the cadaver dog trainer that talked last week, she said that she did go to CUNA, to Brandon Shirtliff's mom's house. She gave Brandon Shirtliff's mom's address. And we know a cadaver dog hit there. And now we know the dog hit exactly where Brandon Shirtliff sat down his red Marlboro duffel bag. Brandon Shirtliff, Brandon. How can you talk to law enforcement and give so many details, yet deny ever seeing Michael, knowing who he was? We know you know where Michael is now, and it's time for you to talk. It's time for you to give Michael back to the Vaughan family. We know that you talked to law enforcement about having a red Marlboro duffel bag, and then you asked law enforcement, have you found it yet? Have you found it yet? Meaning the Marlboro red duffel bag was no longer in your possession. Where did the duffel bag go, Brandon? Where's Michael? Sarah Wondra is angry, frustrated, and emotional, knowing that Stacey is going to trial. She's a nervous wreck. Tick-tock. It's a race to see who will get a plea deal. So Brandon, if you're listening, you better take your attorney your mama paid for, get down to Fruitland and plead out before Sarah does, before Adrian does. And if Stacey Wondra knows where Michael is at this time, you know he's going to make a plea deal. Stacey Wondra's hearing is on April 15th at 10 a.m. in the morning, so he can plead guilty or not guilty. Maybe he will even try to make a plea deal at the time if he does know where Michael Vaughan is now, because that's all law enforcement and the prosecuting attorney want, is Michael to come home to his parents so he could be laid to rest. If anybody out there has a tip, please call the tip line at Fruitland Police Department 208-642-6006, or you can email findmichael@fruitland.org. No tip is too big or too small. Let law enforcement decide whether or not that tip is credible. If it's making you feel bad, you should talk to law enforcement. Again, that telephone number is 208-642-6006, or email findmichael@fruitland.org. We are Monkey's Army, and we're never going to stop. Ever. Karen is here. Thank you so much for coming in. Yeah, where's Monkey, Brando? Bring Monkey home. Justice is coming. All 4 suspects will be arrested and charged. There's no doubt in my mind, especially after going to the preliminary hearing and hearing what little bit of evidence they did provide, and then find out that there's over 20,000 pages of discovery. 20,000 pages. And 1 day out of 3 was 9.5 hours of Stacey Wondra confessing to detectives that, Sarah walked in the house with Michael Vaughan and admitting to seeing all of the other god-awful things that he said he saw, although not taking responsibility for knowing he didn't kidnap Michael, he didn't murder Michael. I would really like to know, though, why Brandon Shirtliff is telling detectives that he saw Sarah and Stacey Wondra put the duffel bag in the basement. That was testimony given by Juanita Kelleher. So did Juanita Kelleher mean to say the crawl space? Or did dumbass Brandon Shirtliff say basement when he really meant to say crawl space? Because there's no basement at the Wondras or at his mom's house. Can you explain that, Brandon? Can you explain to me how you saw what you saw Sarah and Stacey doing with your red Marlboro duffel bag? Because Stacey's claiming he had nothing to do with any of it. He's not taking responsibility for any of it. I was glad to hear that you told Juanita Kelleher something, though, because this just shows, Brandon, that you had knowledge of Michael Vaughan's abduction and murder. Because if you're seeing Sarah and Stacey put the duffel bag somewhere, you knew Michael had been murdered. A lot of information's coming out about you, Brandon. You better run to law enforcement and tell the Vaughan family and law enforcement where Michael is. Brandi has asked you continuously, give me back my son. It's time for you to give her back her son. Whew, got a little bit heated there talking about it. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up my phone and pull this other article up. Oops, clicked the wrong thing. So that we can talk about Jeff Crimmons. This was March 3rd, 2026. It was the first day of Stacey Wondra's preliminary hearing. Patient with me, please, while I find my spot here in this article. I can't believe all the news articles there are. We're going to have a live and we're just going to go over all of the news articles. Okay, trying to get through all these. Oh, okay. So, okay. Okay, so at 2:57 p.m., Deputy Bryce Crimmins, and I believe he introduced himself as Jeff, maybe I got that wrong, with Washington County Sheriff's Office, takes the stand after a short recess. He worked as a detention deputy in November of 2022. He helped facilitate virtual meetings with Fruitland Police and WONDRA. You can actually see him in the footage that was released by Brandi during Stacey Wondra's confession. He's actually one of those officers that are helping Stacey Wondra do that FaceTime. Crimmins received an email saying that Wondra wanted to send a Thanksgiving letter to the Wondra family, and they were not to send that out. When Wondra was on suicide watch, he found the letter addressed to the Vaughan family. On November 12, 2022, he helped facilitate a phone call between Wondra and Fruitland Police Department to discuss a body. At 3:07 p.m., defense begins cross-examination. Crimmins testified that Wondra was in their jail because he was a federal inmate who was being held there. Crimmins says he went through Wondra's belongings in the jail on his own. Crimmins then sent a copy of the letter to his father, who was working at the Fruitland Police Department. He sent it via email and put the letter back where it was. Crimmins testified that he was asked by his father to help facilitate a meeting between him and Wondra. Crimmins said it's common to search inmates' totes at the jail, and it is a routine policy to do so while they are on suicide watch. So going back over me and my daughter's notes, Crimmins, a young deputy from Washington County Jail in 2022, testified about finding a Thanksgiving apology letter written by Stacey Wondra to the Vaughan family. Jeff testified, I'm going to just say Crimmins because she put a different name. Crimmins testified that the letter was a work in progress, but was signed by Stacey Wondra. Jeff's Crimmins' job at the Washington County Jail was to monitor the inmates. When the letter was found, Stacey had been put on suicide watch. Stacey was stripped of all clothing and then put in a smock, which is a weighted blanket. Stacey was to be checked on every 15 minutes. During one of Jeff's check-ins, he noticed a letter in Stacey's belongings that were kept in a plastic tote with no lid. Jeff took the letter, made a copy, and sent it to his father, Detective Crimmins, with the Fruitland Police Department. He then put the original letter back in Stacey's tote to see if Stacey would finish the letter. Crimmins was also told not to share the letter with the Vaughans. Crimmins was called on November 12, 2022, and asked to participate in a FaceTime between Fruitland Police and Stacey Wondra. In the cross-examination given by the defense, Crimmins was asked if going through personal belongings was routine, and Crimmins said yes. He said he didn't have permission by Stacey, but he did it needed. Checking on inmates and their belongings was part of his job, and also said that Juanita Kelleher was also aware of this letter. So this letter, we've heard about this letter in the probable cause affidavit. Stacey Wondra wrote this letter right before he tried to hang himself in Washington County Jail, but he was saved by the officers there at Washington County Jail. The letter was not finished, but it was signed by Stacey Wondra. They did not read the letter in court. And yeah, he was asked not to share that letter with the Vaughns. And he put it back in the tote, wanting Stacey Wondra to finish that letter. You know, and there's a lot of talk about Crimmons and his father, Crimmons, that works for Fruitland Police Department. How there's a conflict of interest. There's not a conflict of interest. Not in my opinion, and not by law as far as I can see. It is not uncommon when you live in a small town to have family members, especially if your father, you know, following your father's footsteps. It's not uncommon in a small community to have family members working in the same law enforcement agencies that you do. I mean, but young Crimmons was working in Washington County Jail, and the other detective Crimmons was working in Fruitland, Idaho. Yeah, I just kind of wanted to go over that. I just really don't feel like it's uncommon, you know, to work side by side, you know, like Brandi and Tyler, for instance. They both work, or did work then, at the Albertsons in Payette. It's not uncommon when you live in a small community to work with people that you know, or even relatives. Everybody be mindful. Brandi is here in chat. She is Michael Joseph Vaughn's mother. She says, thank you, everybody. Thank you for all of your kindness and prayers. It truly means so much to me. Pinky promise. We love you, Brandi. I hope you're feeling good today. I hope you got rest. This hasn't been easy. And I just want you to know we're all praying for you guys. It's entirely common for young criminals and his now an officer, so he's clearly following dad's footsteps. Exactly. There needs to be a father-son combo with the last name equivocal that worked in Payette. The son was working in the jail and the dad was on patrol, and then when the dad retired, he went on patrol. Yeah, and that's what young Crimmons does now. He's kind of on patrol. Rubber Dub, thank you for coming in. Lana says, stupid autocorrect. I knew what you meant. So the next witness to be called to the stand was Carson Starkey. We've heard this name many times. Carson Starkey is the registered sex offender that lives next door to Sarah and Stacey Wondra. At 3:23 p.m., the state calls Carson Starkey to the stand. Next, he was neighbors with Stacey and Sarah Wondra. Starkey testified that he saw a big wheel tricycle in the Wondra's home and had never seen it before. At 3:29 p.m., the defense gave their cross-examination. Starkey told Wondra's defense attorney he would help the Wondras with auto mechanic work. Starkey said he saw a big wheel tricycle through an open gate at the Wondra's home. Very short, but let me assure you, me and my daughter wrote down way more. So we had written down in our notes, Carson Starkey lives on 1100 Red Wing Street and lived next to the Wondras. Carson said his relationship with the Wondras was a work relationship. He regularly spoke with them, would do mechanics for the Wondras that they couldn't do. He'd do those jobs in the driveway and at the Wondras Lube in Ontario. Carson testified that he saw a big wheel tricycle behind the fence at the WONDRA'S. The gate was open when he spotted the tricycle inside the gate next to the garage. You guys hear that? The gate was open when he spotted the tricycle inside the gate next to the garage. Where did Banshee hit? Where did Banshee hit? I put this together after reading this today. I'm like, holy cow. Carson Starkey sees this tricycle inside the gate next to the garage, and Banshee hit on the garage and on the man gate that Carson Starkey is explaining here, where he saw the tricycle inside the gate in between the WONDRA'S and Carson Starkey. I'm just getting part of this conversation. There were even a few of the witnesses, neighbor witnesses there, but were released. I just wanted to point out that Starkey is seeing this tricycle at the same location Banshee hit, there at that man gate and on the garage. Going back to the notes, Carson described the trike as pink and white, and he identifies the trike in Exhibit 11, which was a picture of the tricycle. Carson testified that he saw the trike after Michael Vaughan went missing. I thought that that was kind of huge too, because we all know days later that tricycle sat down the bluff next to a stroller. So somebody in that house got rid of that tricycle. Carson was asked about him and his ex-wife being RSOs. There was an objection because Carson isn't a person of interest. Carson said his mom owns the house and he cares for her. He moved in with his mom a year before the WONDRA'S moved in next door. Carson said he had gone into the WONDRA'S house when he patched a hole up for them, and says he may have seen the trike in the garage as well. So here's another testimony given by somebody that they saw this tricycle in the WONDRA'S garage. We know one witness came forward and said during a garage sale in the spring of 2021, she also saw the tricycle in the garage on top of boxes. And then you hear Chris Madonna talk to Stacey Wondra about the tricycle, and Stacey says the tricycle should be on top of the boxes. Here's all these people that see this tricycle that's no longer there at the WONDRA'S house. Where did that trike originate from? Okay, let me tell you. I heard a recording, and it was Kay, which is Sarah Wondra's mom, telling somebody that she found the tricycle when her and her husband Ed went on a walk in the neighborhood, and that she brought it back to the WONDRA'S house because Kay and Ed, they owned the WONDRA'S house. That's Sarah's mom and dad. And they would store things in Sarah and Stacey's garage. They liked collecting things. So they found that tricycle and they put it in the garage. And this was springtime of 2021, shortly before their garage sale, when somebody else sees it. But the thing is with Kay is that she decided she was going to change her story. And even in the probable cause affidavit, she's pretty much being called a liar, to put it bluntly, because she can't keep her story straight about the tricycle that she found. So moving forward here, we're going to go over Captain Jayson Horst testimony. This is from KTVB Channel 7 by Morgan, a trusted reporter that Brandi trusts. 3:54 p.m. Jayson Horst is called to the witness stand. He is a captain with the Idaho State Police. KTVB observed Brandi hugging him and crying in the hallway prior to his testimony. Captain Horst testified that he saw a pink and white big wheel tricycle at the entrance of the Bluffs subdivision behind a decorative stone with the subdivision name and between trees. The location of the tricycle stuck out to him. Horst said he found the tricycle on August 5th, 2021. The tricycle is still in evidence. At 4 p.m., Horst was cross-examined by the defense. Horst said he had been in the Bluffs neighborhood multiple times searching for Michael. Horst learned through interviews with Idaho State Police detectives a witness saw Michael on a big wheel. That's how he knew the tricycle might be important. Horst said he was not involved in any evidentiary testing that may have been done. Going back to me and my daughter's notes, Jayson Horst, Captain Jayson Horst, his rank in 2021 was a detective, and he had said that he had worked for that department for 20 years. Jayson gave testimony that while searching in the area, he drove by the Bluff sign off 8th and 8th Street and saw a pink trike located behind the Bluff sign and a tree on August 5th, 2021, and that he had never seen the trike before that. He was involved in the search of Michael Vaughan for several weeks after July 28th. Jayson said that the trike caught his interest because it was in a weird spot. Jayson said he had heard of a witness that saw Michael Vaughan on a trike but hadn't heard of its color. He secured the scene and called for help. Jayson identified the trike when shown a picture. Jayson testified that he wasn't involved in any of the testing of the trike to the defense. All of this was just really kind of short with him and with James Smit and with Carson Starkey. So here you have Jayson Horst, Captain Jayson Horst, finding the pink tricycle behind the Bluff, which is where in the probable cause affidavit that James Smit or Jim Smit said he put the trike back to so that kids in the neighborhood could play with a tricycle after he no longer needed it. And this is James Smit's testimony. This is again KTVB Channel News 7 notes. 4:27 p.m. A witness named James Smit is on the stand. He is the final witness of the day. Smit testified that he found the big wheel tricycle over the bluff near his home. That area is a dumping ground, and he was searching for something in there when he spotted it. Smit put the tricycle by the Bluff subdivision sign after he found it. And then this is me and my daughter's notes. James Smit lives on Three Rivers Way. He recalled lots of activity in the search for Michael Vaughan. James said that the bluff was used as a dumping ground. James describes himself as a tinkerer, like somebody that tinks with things. James said he found the trike the end of July or early part of August over the bluff in some bushes. He took the trike home to use the wheel from it to put on a wheelbarrow. James said the wheel didn't fit, so he put the trike at the bluff sign. Jim said his house looks over the bluff, and he said there was a game trail going north down below. Jim identifies the trike when shown a picture. When the cross examination starts by the defense, Jim was asked how he knew that was the trike when he looked at the picture. Jim said he broke off a hubcap trying to get the wheel off, and he had to make a fastener to put the wheel back on, and it's seen in the picture that he was shown. James was asked again about the day he found the trike and said a week after Michael Vaughan went missing to around the 3rd of August. So we're hearing from these witness testimonies. We know what's in the probable cause affidavit, you know, and going back to Carson Starkey, I used to go on Crime Lines and Lies with Brooks, and I don't anymore. And I was on the phone with her when she decides to do a 3-way phone call with Carson Starkey. And this 3-way phone call, Carson did not know that I was there, but I heard him talk about seeing a tricycle at the WONDRA'S home. I had heard that, and this has been a long, long time ago. But yes, I mean, this tricycle plays a huge, huge part in Michael Vaughan's abduction. Stacey Wondra says during his interrogation by police, when after he called them and wants to confess to them everything, that Michael Vaughan was lured using this tricycle. I'm confused. I just get very confused. I was even talking with Tyler about this when we were eating at the Irish restaurant. Everything's confusing to everyone because Stacey Wondra lies so much. Over here, you hear one thing about where Michael Vaughan disappeared, and then you ask yourself, were they really so stupid that they put Michael Vaughan on a tricycle and took him and led him all the way through the whole neighborhood? Don't know how anything happened, but if you play devil's advocate for just a second and say, Dorothy Starkey is a liar. She is a registered sex offender. I don't want to believe her story. Okay, so don't believe that, right? Banshee, this amazing dog, this amazing trailing scent dog, hit on the same corner of Red Wing and Meadowlark and continued to trail Michael's scent through the yards into the WONDRA'S house in front of the garage and the man gate, where Carson Starkey says he saw a tricycle behind the man gate. Then when Banshee leaves the area from the WONDRA'S, he loses interest. She loses interest, sorry, and comes back to the WONDRA'S home and lets Dustin Witt, her handler, know this is where the trail ends. And of course, Banshee does this with whatever signs and signals that she uses to let Dustin know things. And then you have Banshee taking and leading Dustin Witt on his 15-foot lead down 8th Street. down the dirt hill that leads down the bluff, going left on the bottom of this dirt hill, this dirt road, and she turns left. She follows the little game trail. She's scooting along and going and going and going and going down there on the bluff. And then there's sticker bushes. Those are mentioned in the probable cause affidavit that Banshee was adamant to get through these sticker bushes. She wanted to keep going, but Dustin Witt didn't know if there was some kind of, drop off, he said, or, something that could put his dog in danger. So he pulls Banshee back away from her. And that's when law enforcement gets in there, does what they do, and finds a stroller. This is the same stroller that Jim Smit says was sitting next to the tricycle that he found down the bluff. So that tricycle had been thrown over that bluff shortly after Michael Vaughan was abducted. The same tricycle that was seen by witnesses in Stacey Wondra and Sarah Wondra's home at 1102 Red Wing Street. The same tricycle that Kay and Ed said they found and put in Stacey and Sarah's garage. This tricycle is huge, huge, and Banshee hit everywhere the tricycle was. It even says in the probable cause affidavit that Banshee hit at the bluff sign. So just lots and lots and lots of information. It's ironic that Banshee came from California, where apparently Stacey Wondra was born. Small world. Oh yeah, I don't even know if I'm even saying it right. Like Merced, California. I don't know, but that's crazy. I didn't know that that's where he was born. What gets me is that the FBI calls Dustin Witt after collecting scent articles. They knew how good Banshee was. They knew how good she was. Mir said. That's a good way to put it. Mir said. Okay. I've been getting it wrong pretty bad. I've chopped it up, and now I've even done a video reading it like 100 times. Mir said. Oh, goodness. Mir said. I'm never going to get it right, y'all. Do you guys remember how long it took me to say irriterate? Or what was the other word I had such a problem with? Oh my gosh, I can't even remember the word now. I have my moments. Myrrh. You guys are great. Oh, goodness. And I need a chuckle. I'm sitting here sucking on iced coffee, and I'm just exhausted. I haven't stopped since I came home. Tomorrow night, I'm going to be going over and visiting with my grandkids. So, let me just see what everybody was said. I hope you guys liked me going over that information about Banshee, because what a wonderful dog. And then to hear all of the other stories. Under Your Scars is here. Did they say what the letter said at all? Nope. They did not say anything. They only said that it was a Thanksgiving apology letter, that it was unfinished, and that Stacey Wondra had signed it before trying to hang himself. I could not focus when he was up there. I was watching Stacey's mannerisms. I did that back and forth. I was actually taking note of your mannerisms and Stacey's, because I noticed, like when the first cadaver dog woman, Julie Gibson, came up when she said, "My dog does not false alert." I remember you tearing up. And I also remember Stacey Wondra's mannerisms during the time that not only the scent dog, but in different times of the cadaver dog's testimony, he did that thing where he turns beet red. I don't know if he's angry, if he's just nervous, why he turns beet red, but there were several moments that he turned beet red, and he wouldn't even look up at the screen when the FaceTime got put up there between him and his mom. Not till like the very end. He wanted nothing to do with it. Sam, why didn't Dorothy testify? Do you have any idea on that? If she saw Michael and if she saw the bike, shouldn't she have been there too? I know that Dorothy Starkey was supposed to testify, but I honestly feel like the DA thought that they had enough and that they weren't going to, put her up on the stand yet. They were going to wait for trial. I mean, they knew Stacey was going to trial. The defense didn't even try to argue except for giving, closing arguments. That was it. Once the prosecuting attorney was done and rest his case, Stacey Wondra's attorney didn't present anybody and no facts, no information whatsoever. So that's what I believe. I think that they knew they had enough and just wanted to wait to put her up there. Plus, from my understanding, Dorothy Starkey is either deaf or very hard of hearing, and maybe that was, some kind of issue or something there. Okay, I already read that. Crimmons, thank you. I was saying Crimmon and Crimmons both. Let's see. Yeah, I think I went over JLR's interview with Carson Starkey before. Brandi here is saying, Lana, because we had confidence in the fact that we were going to trial. There's a lot in this case that's not public still, as well as the ongoing investigation still. That's what I was also kind of thinking. I didn't hear anybody talking about anything, but I did feel like the DA was very, very confident in the fact that they were going to trial and had presented a lot to the court. There was even a few of the witnesses, neighbor witnesses there, but were released. Oh, didn't know that. That's what you were saying. So there were even a few of the neighbors and witnesses there at court, but were released. So Dorothy Starkey wasn't the only one that was there that didn't testify. There were a few of the neighbor witnesses. Okay. I did not know that. Find something new every day. I already answered where the tricycle originated from. It's very confusing in the probable cause affidavit, McSporn, that because after Kay says that she found the trike and put it in the garage, she then says, like I said, she changed her story. She then says she found it and got rid of the trike and put it by the bluff. But we know that she's not the one that put it by the bluff, because Jim put it by the bluff. And also, I want to see something real quick. Let me look at my notes. Find it over the So Jim said the wheel didn't fit, so he put the trike at the bluff sign. Okay, here's my thing. Me and my daughter had a huge conversation about the bluff sign. Now, I don't know if I'm understanding it correctly that Jim puts the tricycle at the bluff sign. Did he put it behind the bluff sign? Let me see what Morgan says. Because what I'm asking myself right now is if Jim wanted kids in the neighborhood to play with the bike, he'd leave it at the bluff sign, but this tricycle's found behind the bluff sign, almost like it was hidden. And I'm wondering if one of these four suspects or Kay or somebody like saw it sitting there and then put it behind the bluff sign between this tree and the bluff sign. The way that the detective described it, it almost made it sound like this tricycle was hiding behind the bluff sign. On a second. Smit testified that he found the big-wheeled tricycle over the bluff near his home, the area of the dumping ground, and that he was searching for something in there when he spotted it. Smit put the tricycle at the bluff signs subdivision sign after he found it. See, even Morgan says he put it at the sign, and that's what I wrote too. He doesn't say he put it behind the sign, but then you have Captain Jayson Horst testifying to the fact that he finds it behind the bluff sign. Jim's not going to put that tricycle behind the bluff sign if he's leaving it there for kids to play with. Now I'm starting to wonder, this is all pure speculation. I just want to clarify that before I continue with the way my brain is working right now. When did the dogs go to where the tricycle was found? I believe it says in the probable cause affidavit. I will answer that question in just a minute, Callie. I won't forget you. I'll even put you up here. Reported that. On August 2nd, 2021, K9 Banshee tracked Scent down to a tree over the edge of a bluff off Southwest 8th and Three Rivers Way. K9 Banshee has determined to track the scent into the thorny bushes under the tree despite the thorns. A discarded child stroller was located deep in those thorny bushes. On August 5th, 2021, a pink Big Flyer tricycle was located at the bluff sign at Three Rivers Way and Southwest 8th Street. During a search of the same area the day prior, the tricycle was not there. Jim Smit, who lives in the Three Rivers subdivision, later reported that he had found the tricycle over the bluff under the tree next to the child's stroller. Jim said he took it home to use one of the wheels for another project, but then discarded it after not removing the wheel as planned. Jim said he left it behind the bluff sign for neighborhood kids to use. So it says in the probable cause affidavit. So even though that he didn't give testimony or that he gave testimony that he left it at the Bluff sign. It says in the probable cause affidavit that Jim said he left it behind the Bluff sign for neighborhood kids to use. I don't think they mention the canine again, but I'm going to look. Maybe I am wrong in saying that the dog hit at the Bluff sign, because I don't think it's here. I think I thought that because it talks about 8th and 3 Rivers Way. But it actually talks about 8th and 3 Rivers Way. Banshee was determined to track the scent to the thorny bushes under a tree despite the thorns. So yes, here it just says that Jim said he left it behind the Bluff sign. And this is why we do our homework and report the facts. Homework. Oh, Rowan, good to see you. Thank you for coming in. Toaster is here. Would be nice to AI this on how the trike was set and moved, and to see it found by the dogs. It would make more sense seeing it. Yeah, that would be helpful. Definitely give a perspective. I have videos though of the Bluff sign, or I have video and stuff in other lives. Matter of fact, I think one of the names of that live that I did was called The Bluff. You can go there, you can see the bluff, you can see the road, you can see the entire area, you can see the Bluff sign, see where it's located on 8th Street and everything. I've heard they don't know where Adrian is though. Well, we knew where Adrian was back in October, and I'm sure law enforcement knows where he is. I've even heard Brandi say that. That's exactly what he said. He had to walk over to a specific angle to see where the bike was placed. Yep, that is correct. So Kay has the trike they are throwing around, but no kids and family right now. No, the bike is in evidence now. So the tricycle was found by Jim over the bluff. Where I said that Banshee goes down the Bluff Road. You know what? I think I do have, let me just see if I can pull it up. Give you guys a little bit better perspective since we're talking about it. Let me see. So this is heading down 8th towards the Bluff sign. There's only one way in and out of Brandi's neighborhood. And where that arrow is right there is where the Bluff sign is. This is what the Bluff sign looks like. You can kind of see a tree right there. The trike was found behind that Bluff sign. That is a view further away. Passing 3 Rivers Way. And then this would be the road that Banshee went down with Dustin Witt, completely down this dirt road. And if you take that all the way down, Banshee then goes to the left, following a trail into some thorny bushes. So down under this, and it is thick. It's described as sticker bushes. I mean, it's straight down. And then if you want a better perspective, I have, so where is it? Right about here. This is like looking down towards the bluff. You can kind of see water. And Jim describes this area as used as a dumping ground. So this right here. See the road that's coming down. Up top is the bluff community where the houses are up there. And somewhere along this trail of bushes, maybe even further down, because we're not exactly sure where the bike was, is where the tricycle is found by Jim sitting next to a stroller. But when Banshee hit down there, the only thing that was found was the stroller, and that's because Jim had already taken the tricycle. Tyler Vaughan, when he was up on stand testifying, gave testimony about being able to see the freeway there in the background, the farmland that's here, you know, the Snake River that runs underneath that freeway. And here is a picture of the dirt road and the bluff. It's very steep. And in this right here, let me see if I can back up just a smidge. Let's see if I can catch it, because you can see right at the very bottom in this video of the end of the road. And that's where Banshee, oh, yeah, missed it again. There's the road from the White House all the way down, kind of at an angle. My daughter also, there it is, a good close-up of the road going down. And then here's the end of the road going all the way down. So yeah, that's, you know, that's the bluff. That's where this tricycle was and found by Jim. And you have to remember, this tricycle was seen at the Wondra's house. Carson Starkey's testimony said the bike was behind that man gate after Michael Vaughan was abducted. And from what I understand, he's not the only one that knows that that tricycle was there after Michael Vaughan was abducted. So that's huge. Because days later, it's through down a bluff, and Jim Smit finds it. Yep, that's down the bluff. Sam can't check email, as mine won't go through to you. Question for you. It starts with how, you know what? I'm so bad at checking my email for Missing PNW. I promise I will try to remember to check it. And yes, I'm very sorry. I'm awful at checking that email. Plus, I have been so busy and swamped with messages, making shorts and videos and putting all of this stuff together for the live. I mean, I'm working hours and hours and hours in the evening time, hours and hours and hours during the day. Going over me and my daughter's notes when we both have over 30 pages is insane. And that was even with shorter testimony. I mean, we sat in court for 9.5 hours listening to Stacey Wondra talk to detectives. I wanted to go over that like Thursday, Friday, but I might have to spend the weekend. And then I told my daughter, I don't think I'm going to be able to go through my notes and your notes and cram it together. I think I'm going to have to go over KTVB's notes, then my notes, then my daughter's notes, because I think I have like 11 or 12 pages of just Stacey Wondra's because he goes on and on and on, changing his stories constantly. Just like something I read today, I'm reading KTVB's notes, and she was talking about how Juanita Kelleher said that Brandon Shirtliff came back to the truck with the duffel bag. And then I'm calling my daughter. I'm like, what? What do you mean he came back with the duffel bag to the truck? Because we heard from the district attorney that Michael was in the duffel bag outside of the house. And then Tabitha goes, yeah, Mom, remember we were talking, and Stacey Wondra, during his confession, before he finally, you know, I guess what you would call the real story, confessed that Brandon Shirtliff came back with a duffel bag to the truck with a lighter, more empty duffel bag than he had when going into the house. And we also heard testimony that Brandon Shirtliff told him he put Michael Vaughan in the spare bedroom. But then when the district attorney closes, he says that Michael Vaughan was in a duffel bag outside all night. It's crazy, you guys. Stacey Wondra lies so much, and that's what makes everything so confusing, because he says so many different things and gives so many different stories. Why does Stacey Wondra say Michael was in a household trash bag? During his confession footage that Brandi released and put out on YouTube, Stacey was asked what Michael Vaughan was buried in, and he said a garbage bag, and then said it was either white or black. But let's be mindful that Brandi is here in chat. The reason why there is so much confusion is because of all the lies Samantha said. Absolutely. Rowan, I was listening to that today, and I do remember being told Stacey is a habitual liar. He really is. I doubt that they would leave him outside. Why would they take the chance of a neighbor hearing Michael? Well, in the probable cause affidavit, they believe that Michael Vaughan died on the way to Cuna. And from what I read today, again, by Morgan from KTVB, which my daughter, there were many times when I was taking notes that they would say something and I would stay fixed on what they just said because my mind was blown by it. I'm like, what? And I'm not taking notes anymore. My mind's just fixed on this certain subject, but my daughter was still over there taking notes. And yeah, there was just so much said. So much said. Oh, and what was your question? Sorry, Callie. Yes, I doubt that they would leave him outside. Why would they take the chance of the neighbor hearing Michael? So the probable cause affidavit says that they believe Michael Vaughan died before getting to Cuna. And that was written in June of 2021. I also believe when I was told, not only by Brandon's ex-girlfriend, but by Daniel Guthrie, they both were told by Brandon Shirtliff that he went back to the Wondra's house that night because everybody got into a huge argument. I got him up on panel and got him to admit that there was a huge argument after Michael Vaughan was abducted. He says, oh yeah. And I think he went back to Cuna that night. I think he went back to Cuna that night because he knew somebody was watching his mom's house. He wanted to make sure that nobody was going to find Michael outside or inside. But I think as information starts coming out, you know, as trial starts going on, as more witnesses that come forward, who knows if Brandon or Sarah or anybody else may have to testify against Stacey, what, you know, is actually going to be said. And that's where we have to believe in the district attorney. And he believes that, you know, they're not going to have a problem convicting Stacey Wondra. Okay, just looking in chat. Yeah, I believe so too. Exactly. Neat Noodle brings up a very good point. If that is the last memory of you seeing this little boy, I think you would remember the color of a garbage bag. That would be etched in my brain. Well, that is very true. Very good point that you make. But also, did Stacey Wondra not know what color garbage bags they had there at the house? I mean, yeah, you're going to remember that. He deflects away from everything. He gives no, yeah, he just deflects. He takes no responsibility. Just looking for more questions. Just trying to answer some questions. Tabitha Buggy says she's better today because of the butterfly. I couldn't remember what the hell she was talking about. My daughter gave Buggy a crystal green aventurine butterfly that was sitting in her car because when Buggy was kidding up into the car, she immediately picks up this green aventurine butterfly. So Tabitha let her have it. And that's so cute. Stacey said he had the trike because sometimes he would watch his tattoo artist daughter, but I don't know if I believe that. She was too big for the tricycle, Callie. I want to say she was like 8 years old, 9 years old, maybe even older than that. I could be wrong, but she was older. She would have never even fit on it. Learning Sarah went to her mom's to hide a pew-pew that she is in jail for now tells me she would do anything for her daughter. Kay may even be afraid of her violent acts. Yep, that is also very good point because Stacey or Sarah Wondra is dangerous. She's very violent. Yeah, I think we are too. Criminal Med says, I think we're going to hear lots more about the trike at Stacey's trial. Yeah, because, you know, the prosecuting attorney during a preliminary hearing can't give up everything he has. If he thinks that he could move on without calling these neighbors that Brandi's talking about or Dorothy Starkey, because he thought he could move forward and can, push this to trial, then why give, everything to the defense? Yes, they will have, everything in the discovery to give to the defense, but they have to have stuff sitting in their pockets. You know what I mean? I also think that's one of the reasons why the defense didn't call anybody or give up any information, because he didn't want the prosecuting attorney to know what they had came up with. Thank you, Past, for coming in. So good to see you. Give me 1 minute. You guys go ahead and chat amongst yourself. I'll be right back. Thank you, everybody, for being patient and waiting on me. I do have an idea for a later future live. I have already talked to my daughter and Shannon, my beautiful moderator here, because she lives there in Idaho. Just getting some people up here on panel to talk about their perspective, maybe even people that knew Brandi beforehand, what they did to participate in the search for Michael, how the Vaughan, how they met the Vaughan family. Just really giving, hello, Shannon, a good perspective of their story. And I was also going to ask Lana if she wanted to join. I haven't had a chance to do that. And maybe just do, I don't know, all three of them at once, or maybe one of them at a time. It's just something that I'm thinking about, because I think it is very important to hear from them, because they were at the preliminary trial. And I'm curious to know what stuck out to them at the preliminary trial. One of the things that really stuck out to me, that was huge for me, was the fact that a cadaver dog hit on Stacey Wondra's Lexus, or Sarah and Stacey's Lexus. I don't know whose name it was in, but that was huge for me. After hearing testimony by these handlers, hearing how good their dogs were. I don't believe it was either one of those dogs, but I don't know that for sure. But these cadaver dogs are trained so well. And yeah, I just thought that that was the hugest thing or the biggest thing for me was hearing that a cadaver dog hit on the Lexus. Because that's not in the backyard. That's the Lexus. And if you really think about it, there's only two ways that a cadaver dog could have hit on the Lexus. And that is if Michael was transported from the WONDRA'S backyard or from Kuna to Fruitland, then to be later put in the WONDRA'S backyard, or when Michael was taken out of the backyard and moved somewhere else. I know I remember seeing that the GMC truck was repoed and that they sold the Lexus. So, yeah, when did they sell the Lexus? That would be something I would really like to find out, but I'm not going to be able to find out unless I go to trial, which I'm already thinking about. I have an opportunity to do that. I just don't know if I'm going to have to go back and forth, how long trial is going to be, because I can't stay gone weeks. I could make myself stay gone for a couple, but weeks and weeks, I don't know. Kelly, the DA, did state that discovery is, hold on a second. Discovery is ongoing, but they have given the defense everything they have to date. I actually heard different. I heard in the very beginning that the district attorney hadn't given them all of the discovery yet, and they talked about it in court, the defense and the prosecuting attorney, and nobody seemed to have a problem with that. That's what I heard. I was pretty sure that Mike Duke said that they haven't given them all of the discovery yet. And over everything at this time, the police are also still working on leads, so that is also being added to the case file as well to go to the defense ASAP. Yeah, if anybody has a picture of that Lexus, I'd love it. Thank you, Lana. I'd appreciate that. Can't U.S. citizens track a vehicle by who owns and when transferred? Sometimes. I mean, you can look through, you know, the Department of Licensing and stuff to follow a car. Okay, everybody, I'm going to call it a night. I've got some corned beef and potatoes and carrots and cabbage cooking in the crock pot. I'm hungry. I thank everybody for coming in. I really, really do appreciate you being here, for the Vaughan family, for supporting Michael Vaughan, for being a part of Monkey's Army. And, you know, we're going to get down to the truth. I really do believe that will happen. We do know a lot, though. We do know a lot. Michael Vaughan was abducted July 27th of 2021 in his neighborhood near his home. There are 4 suspects: Stacey Wondra, Sarah Wondra, Adrian Lucien, and Brandon Shirtliff. They are all still named suspects. We know that Stacey Wondra is going to trial, and we know that Sarah Wondra will be arrested after she serves her prison sentence on unrelated charges in October of 2026. We know that Brandon knows where Michael is right now, and he's a coward. He will not come forward and give the Vaughan family and law enforcement Michael Vaughan's location. We know a lot of things now about Brandon that we learned in the preliminary hearing. Like I said earlier, it is going to take me a while to put together Stacey's 9.5 hour, because I just went over the first day of Stacey's preliminary hearing, and the second day was 9.5 hour video. I might just go over the third day first while I'm still putting together everything we heard in those 9.5 hour video confessions. And we need to remember, after watching 9.5 hours of Stacey Wondra confessing to detectives, we found out that he called law enforcement on the 5th of November 2022. We found out that he called them again on November 10th, and on November 11th is when law enforcement and detectives went in to talk to Stacey Wondra, and they were joined by Chris Madonna from the Cold Case Foundation. And they stayed there and talked to Stacey. And it was not a confession, or they were not interrogating him to the point of a confession or false confession. Stacey Wondra was freely giving them information. He was getting along with detectives. There were some times when they laughed. Sometimes he was stuffing his face with food or a sandwich. Juanita Kelleher had even given him a hug and thanked him for working with them. This was not detectives bullying, yelling, screaming, and doing an interrogation like what we see on TV. Nobody standing over the top of him, looking down on him. Tell us where he is. Tell us the truth. That is not at all how this went. It's just not. And Stacey Wondra said something very, very, interesting. He said that he wanted the same deal that Sarah was offered. He wanted the same deal. And we found out that a month prior to Stacey Wondra calling detectives and giving them his confession about what he saw and how he had nothing to do with anything, Sarah Wondra, the month prior, had talked to detectives and wanted a deal, and they were giving her a deal. She, at that time, was going to cooperate, and then all of a sudden didn't. But as soon as Stacey Wondra hears word of that, I'm flipping before she does, is what he thought. I want the same deal she was offered, and I'll tell you everything. This was not an interrogation to the point of a false confession. It just wasn't. And even though Stacey Wondra had fetal alcohol syndrome, he knew right from wrong. And I know that the behavior analysis unit that worked for the FBI had said something like, be careful, because people that have fetal alcohol syndrome could give, some kind of false confession. Stacey Wondra was called smart in court, and how when he doesn't put himself in that position, when he doesn't say, I didn't kidnap him, when he says, I didn't murder him, when he says, I'm not the one who stuffed Michael into a duffel bag, I'm not the one who duct taped him, when he continuously keeps saying over and over and over again that he had no involvement in any of the bad things that happened to Michael Vaughan, that in itself made the district attorney talk about the fact that it was pretty smart of him to do that. The thing is, I don't believe it. I don't believe that Stacey Wondra didn't do anything. And I think the district attorney is going to be able to prove that. Because Brandon Shirtliff is saying he saw Stacey and Sarah put the duffel bag in a basement. How could he watch them do it? And in the very beginning, when you see Brandon Shirtliff on JLR, he talks about how I could see Stacey doing it, but not Sarah, not Adrian, not me. And he blames Stacey. And he's done that quite a few times. So he's saying Stacey did it. Sarah Wondra, in the very beginning, in November of 2022, when they come to the house on November 12th to give the warrant, as soon as they walk into the house, you can hear Chris Madonna talking to Stacey Wondra, and Sarah says, I didn't murder that boy. Stacey Wondra killed him and buried him in the backyard, and right then throws Stacey under the bus. You have two people talking about Stacey, and then you have Stacey blaming Sarah and Adrian. They all lie. We all know that. But I'm really hoping for answers. I'm praying for answers, not for myself, but for the Vaughan family. What mother and father or grandfather or auntie or brother or sister doesn't want to know exactly what happened to their brother? And even though that those details are very disturbing, I know the Vaughan family would love to hear the truth. And I just hope that one of these suspects will tell the truth so that they can find some kind of peace. They're never going to be able to move on without knowing exactly what happened to Michael. It would be impossible. Your mind races about it all. Brandi and Tyler told me that they were up for a week straight before they slept for 3 or 4 hours, and then they did it all again, looking for Michael after he was abducted. Brandi Vaughan would sleep on the porch, waiting for Michael to come home. These are the kind of circumstances that the Vaughan family is dealing with, and they deserve the truth. Michael Vaughan deserves justice. One of these 4 suspects needs to come forward and tell the truth. And it's just a matter of time. It really is a race right now to see who goes and talks to Fruitland Police first. If anybody out there has a tip, just know tips are still coming in, even though Stacey Wondra is going to trial, even though we know Sarah's going to be charged. What information might you have having to do with Adrian or Brandon? You got anything solid? Get a hold of law enforcement. And even if it doesn't have to do it with Adrian and Brandon, any information at all regarding Michael Vaughan, his abduction, his murder, a rumor. You think it's just a rumor, but it could be something true and real that helps this case. So please call the Fruitland Police Tip Line, 208-642-6006, or email findmichael@fruitland.org. No tip is too big or small. Let law enforcement decide whether or not your tip is credible. Now's the time. Now's the time to get that tip, 208-642-6006, or email findmichael@fruitland.org. I'm going to spend all day with my grandbabies tomorrow. I really appreciate everybody come in. Please, please share Michael Vaughan. Share his face, share his beautiful smile, just like Brandi Vaughan says all the time. Share all of these news reports that are out there talking about how Stacey Wondra's going down. Maybe that will help somebody, give a tip. And if you have to, or if you can, please put the tip line phone number for somebody to leave a tip. And if you live in Idaho, if you lived in Fruitland, Idaho, or Caldwell, or Ontario, any of those places near Fruitland, giving that tip phone number when you are sharing Michael Vaughan is so very important, because people may not know where to go. There are businesses now taking down Michael's flyer because we know that Michael has passed. We know what these monsters did to Michael. And Brandi's still putting it up because it brings awareness. And that is so important, to keep bringing awareness, keep talking about it. Tip line phone number again is 208-642-6006. You can be Michael Vaughn's hero and the Vaughan family hero, or you can email findmichael@fruitland.org. There is a reward for over $50,000 for any information leading to Michael Vaughan and where he is now. I appreciate everybody coming in. I love you guys all so much. I appreciate everybody that sends me messages, that sends me information to go over. I really appreciated all the information today that I received on those pictures of Banshee and the Facebook group. Merced, California Sheriff's Office. Justice for Michael Vaughan. Have a wonderful night. I'll see you guys Thursday. Brandi says, thank you everyone for your continued support. Justice is coming. Michael will come home. And we believe that too. We really do. Good night, everybody. Have a good night. I love you too, Mama.